As I'm sure many of you have heard by now, Sony is going to be increasing prices for the PlayStation 5 across the globe in various regions outside the US. Folks living in the United States won't be impacted by this, but in a lot of major markets, yeah, PlayStation 5s are about to get significantly more expensive, as detailed here in this blog post published by PlayStation on August 25th, 2022, earlier today. The headline here reads, PlayStation 5 price to increase in select markets due to global economic environment, including high inflation rates. Scrolling down, we'll find all of the details here. The global economic environment is a challenge that many of you around the world are no doubt experiencing. We're seeing high global inflation rates, as well as adverse currency trends, impacting consumers and creating pressure on many industries. Based on these challenging economic conditions, SIE has made the difficult decision to increase the recommended retail price of PlayStation 5 in select markets across Europe, Middle East, and Africa, Asia, Pacific, Latin America, as well as Canada. There will be no price increase in the United States. I'm curious as to the reasoning behind why the US specifically won't be getting a price increase. I feel like it's because the US is the biggest market when it comes to gaming, and they wanted to mitigate some potential backlash maybe by at least leaving the US alone when it comes to price spikes, because then people would really get up in arms. Maybe. But yeah, this is the situation right now, and obviously folks outside the US are none too happy, especially given how unusual and unprecedented it is for a console's price, its MSRP, to increase after launch. Usually the price of a console depreciates as time goes by, unless it's selling as well as the Nintendo Switch is, but eventually prices do tend to go down. We've never seen a console's price go up years after launch, ever, I don't think. You know, they talk here about how the global economic environment is a challenge, how many of us customers and consumers have felt that, but increasing the price for PlayStation 5s across so many major markets is certainly not going to help with these challenging times. The blog post then details the new pricing model across the various regions where the price increase will take effect: Europe, UK, Japan, China, Australia, Mexico, and Canada, and then concluded with, while this price increase is a necessity given the current global economic environment and its impact on SIE's business, necessity might be too strong a word, but we'll get to that in a bit. Our top priority continues to be improving the PlayStation 5 supply situation so that as many players as possible can experience everything that PS5 offers and what's still to come. Now, something cheeky that they do here is that they don't show the old price point and compare it to the new price point so that people receiving the news have a vaguer idea for just how much the price increase is. But going to news outlet Gematsu, you'll find exactly by how much PlayStation 5 prices have increased across these various regions. In Europe, PlayStation 5s are now 50 euros more expensive. In the UK, 30 pounds more expensive. In Japan, 5,000 yen more expensive. In China, 400 yuan more expensive. In Australia, 50 Australian dollars more expensive. In Mexico, 1,000 pesos more expensive. And in Canada, 20 Canadian dollars more expensive. Now, this comes in shortly after Sony confirmed back in August of 2021, a year ago, that the $500 model of PlayStation 5 is no longer selling at a loss. The $500 model being the one with a disc drive, and the $400 digital version without the disc drive. While I don't know whether that was selling at a loss or not, even if it was, that's made up for with the fact that those consoles, you can only buy games digitally, and digital games are just cheaper to sell than physical, and so they make up for the $100 cheaper price point that way. But that may have been disrupted by the current global situation, as Daniel Ahmad details here. Sony says high global inflation rates plus adverse currency trends are to blame. The cost of manufacturing and distribution has also increased across the board, even if availability of components is starting to improve. And while I don't know if costs have increased enough that the $500 PlayStation 5 model is starting to sell at a loss again or something like that, the fact remains that higher costs are contributing factors to various companies considering increasing the MSRP of their products. And another major point to highlight is that this price increase is probably not going to have a short-term impact, as demand is still not met. It's still very difficult to find PlayStation 5s. Demand's up here, supply is down here, and while the price increase is going to lower demand, it's still probably not going to lower it enough for supply to be able to catch up to that demand. So Sony as a company, as a business, is not really losing out with this move. There are still not enough PS5s for the number of people that want them. So even with this price increase, PlayStation 5s are likely to be sold out everywhere unless you're like on point with keeping track of when new shipments come in. And an unfortunate side effect of this will no doubt be, as pointed out here by John Cartwright, is that scalpers are probably going to be increasing their prices too. Now, it was only earlier this month that when Nintendo was asked whether there's the potential for Switches getting a price increase as a result of the global economic situation, they responded that the Nintendo Switch won't be getting a price increase at this point, despite higher costs of manufacturing and distribution. Nintendo isn't looking to pull a move similar to the Meta Quest 2 anytime soon. Then again, the phrase "at this point" does leave the possibility open for Nintendo to change their mind, but for now at least, Nintendo is holding steady with prices. Microsoft and Xbox have expressed no intention of increasing prices for Xbox consoles, and given how big Microsoft is as a company, they can likely get away with not increasing Xbox prices even with the increased manufacturing and distribution costs. But at the same time, Sony isn't a small company. They are still a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and they could afford to get by without increasing PlayStation 5 prices. But the most important thing for them is the bottom line of their business, ensuring that investors are happy by keeping the company's profits growing. And part of that involves increasing prices of products when making and shipping those products becomes more expensive. It's not a necessity, as they put it, in the sense of, oh, we're not going to survive if we don't increase PlayStation 5 prices. It's more of a necessity in the sense of our investors won't be happy if we don't increase the prices and if we don't make up for potential losses due to the global economic situation and various disrupting factors. Now, IGN brings up Meta Quest 2 here, and that's because earlier this year, and I already covered this story, Facebook or Meta decided to increase the hardware pricing of the Meta Quest 2. This is a tweet from July of 2022 that reads, "In order to continue investing in moving the VR industry forward for the long term, we're adjusting the price of Meta Quest 2 headsets to $400 and $500, the 128GB model and the 256GB model respectively, starting on August 1st of 2022. Now, they tried to make up for that and add some additional value by announcing that an offer to download Beat Saber, one of the most popular Quest apps, at no additional cost will come with every new headset purchase for a limited time, ends on December 31st, 2022. That was a pretty insulting offer, considering that Beat Saber is a $30 game, which comes nowhere close to making up for the $100 price increase across all Quest 2 models. Not to mention that on top of all that, they also increased the prices for Meta Quest 2 accessories and refurbished units. And so people on social media started to point out how getting Beat Saber, a $30 game, for free is a terrible way to make up for the price increase. And that's something to criticize about PlayStation as well, because they're offering nothing in return for the price increase. The least they could do is offer digital goods for free, because digital goods have infinite supply. They could start shipping the higher priced PlayStation 5s with an older free game or free PlayStation Plus subscriptions, just anything to provide enough extra value that it makes up for the price increase while not putting a strain on manufacturing and distribution, because digital goods don't require manufacturing. But the fact that they're just increasing prices without offering anything extra, it's just going to make this whole situation a harder pill to swallow for the markets that are impacted by this, for the folks living in those markets. Now, PlayStation 5 price increases are still nowhere near as bad as Meta's price increase of Quest 2 headsets. PlayStation 5 price increases are nowhere close to $100. Now, PlayStation 5's price increase is not as bad as Meta Quest 2. A whopping $100 price increase is pretty crazy, and this does affect the US market. Even if you factor in a free digital copy of Beat Saber in the price point, that's still a $70 price increase. That's still very substantial. And keep in mind that Facebook or Meta is one of the biggest companies in the world, eclipsing companies like Sony. And so people came out with comments like, yes, I understand that a small company like Facebook needs the extra money. They're raking in dozens of billions of dollars every quarter and are pretending like they absolutely need to do this in order to survive and thrive, when again, it's more about just pleasing investors and keeping profit margins rising so that investors see the illusion of infinite growth and stuff like that. But Meta's handling of price increases for their products being worse than how PlayStation has handled price increases for PlayStation 5 doesn't change the fact that this whole situation is causing a lot of discourse and it is drawing negative optics, especially given that Sony decided to pull the trigger and be the first among the big three, Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, to engage in a price increase, whereas Nintendo stated that they're going to stand firm with their current price point, though again, maybe that will change down the line. And Microsoft and Xbox also seem to be holding steady with Xbox Series price points. Again, I feel like the inclusion of just some kind of digital good that doesn't put a strain on manufacturing and distribution processes would have gone a long way. But alas, this is the situation we are at now. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts and opinions are on all of this. For those living outside the US who are going to be impacted by this, do you think Sony and PlayStation's excuses are enough to justify the price increases? Or are you in the camp of this is not acceptable? Or are you somewhere in between where you see both sides of the fence? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.